Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something that starts with what seems like a really simple question.
Almost trivial, really.
Yeah, how exactly were Buddhist monks meant to wear their robes? Folded right over left or left over right.
It sounds like such a minor detail.
Exactly. But it apparently stumped, well, highly learned scholars for ages. They often just said, do it the same way everyone else does.
Which, as our source points out, isn't very helpful.
Called it like groping around in the dark.
Aha, yeah. And it turns out this tiny detail about a robe was actually the key.
The key to what?
To a whole different understanding of reality, a really radical one.
So this deep dive is into his personal account, right?
Yes, exactly. Insights he apparently gained through years and years of intensive meditation.
Famous meditation master.
That's the one. And this isn't theory. It's presented as what he directly saw, what he experienced through deep inner vision.
Okay, so buckle up, because what he apparently saw, well, it might challenge pretty much everything you thought you knew.
About Buddhist cosmology, yeah. The nature of existence itself?
Even the life of the Buddha. It seems like it really shakes up conventional interpretations.
Definitely. It's a perspective that really redefines things.
So let's get into it. How does a robe fold lead to, well, all of this?
It took him 16 years of practice, the text says. 16 years to finally see the answer.
Wow.
And what he saw wasn't just about robes. It unlocked this view of the universe as, well, much more complex and, frankly, more contentious than usually presented.
Contentious how?
His big revelation was this. There isn't just one Buddha force, let's say, in the cosmos. There are three distinct Buddha factions.
True factions. Okay,
And this is where it gets really paradigm shifting. He describes these factions as being constantly at odds, like enemies, actually.
Enemies. Well,
Because their fundamental nature, their elements and principles,
yeah.
in Ms. Galan, as the term, they're completely incompatible.
Incompatible, meaning they just can't coexist peacefully.
Exactly. It implies the very fabric of reality has this inherent opposition woven into it, which changes how you think about cause and effect, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so who are these three factions?
Right. So first, there's the white faction.
Okay, white faction. What are they like?
Their Buddhas are described with bodies clear, like white glass, and a spire, like on a Buddha image, shaped like a lotus bud.
And their purpose.
Pure compassion. Their inherent nature is simply to give happiness to all beings.
All right, so the good guys, basically. Who's next?
Then you have the opposite. The black faction, unwholesome principle. Their Buddhas have bodies clear, like black glass or onyx, also with that lotus bud spire.
And their nature.
To bring suffering directly. It's not just, the result of bad actions. It's portrayed as an active principle trying to cause distress.
Wow. Okay, that's intense. So white and black. Who's the third?
The third is the neutral faction. They don't got caught indeterminate principle.
So neither good nor bad.
Pretty much. Yeah, Buddha's bodies are described as neither white nor black, clear like lead-colored glass, same lotus bud spire.
And their nature is just indifference.
To give neither happiness or suffering.
Yeah.
Pure indifference.
Huh. Three factions. White, black, neutral.
But wait, there's actually another layer, a sort of fourth aspect.
Oh.
It's called the original elements and principles. And it's specifically linked to the white faction, particularly the lineage of our historical Buddha, Samana Gautama.
And this aspect is?
Even more powerful than the white faction itself, and it actively helps them. Its body is described as yellow, like yellow glass.
Yellow glass, and this relates back to the robe.
Yes. The source says this original aspect wears its robe in a specific way. And that was the answer to the initial question about how monks should wear theirs, following the ultimate source, essentially.
Ah, okay. So it all connects back. These factions, they're not just different in purpose, but in their very essence.
Totally. Even down to their auras, apparently.
Auras?
Yeah. The white and original factions have soft, pleasing auras. The black faction's aura is harsh, irritating. And the neutral one is, well, neutral.
Makes sense.
But the absolutely critical point he makes is their total incompatibility. He likens them to three ropes twisted in different directions. They just cannot intertwine.
It's like oil and water, but on a cosmic scale?
Exactly. An inherent, unavoidable conflict built into the structure of existence.
So what does this conflict actually do? What are the consequences?
Well, it means they're locked in this perpetual bid for power, as the text puts it.
A power struggle. Over what?
Over everything. They're constantly trying to control all the elements and principles in existence.
So the white faction tries to spread happiness.
But the neutral and black factions get in the way, they obstruct.
And the black faction tries to spread suffering.
And the white neutral obstruct them.
And the neutral faction
Tries to spread neutrality, and again, the white and black factions block that. It's this constant push and pull, a dynamic stalemate almost.
That cosmic tug of war.
Precisely. And the text argues this struggle, this evenly matched battle, is the root cause of why the world is always fluctuating between happiness, suffering, and neutrality.
So it affects everything, from the highest heavens down to...
Now the lowest hells, yeah. Nirvana, the three planes of existence, even this place called Lokanta, the dark realm between world systems. It governs it all.
Okay, but how? How do these, unseen factions actually exert control over reality, over us?
It's subtle. They apparently do it by inserting their knowledge, their ka, into what's called the innermost subtle knowledge.
The innermost subtle knowledge, like the very core of our consciousness.
Kind of like the deepest control center, yeah. Think of it like a seat or a master switch inside you. They don't physically push you around.
They influence your core intention.
Exactly. They inject their essence, their will, right into that innermost point.
I think I get it. It's like only one person can sit in the driver's seat at a time.
That's a good analogy the text uses, actually. Like one person sitting on a log, only one faction can occupy that seat at any given moment.
So if the white faction is in control,
your actions, your words, your thoughts, they naturally become wholesome. Good karma follows.
But if the black faction takes the seat,
they become unwholesome. Bad karma. Suffering.
And the neutral faction
leads to neutral actions, neutral karma. Neither particularly good nor bad.
So there's this constant unseen battle happening inside us, essentially, for control of our being.
That's the idea, shaping our choices, our experiences, our destiny, moment by moment.
Wow. And this even affects how Nirvana is seen.
Profoundly. The white faction apparently shows Nirvana as existing, as a real place of ultimate peace. The black faction, though, presents it as void, nothingness, complete cessation.
Total opposites.
And the neutral faction presents it as neither existing nor ceasing, just indeterminate.
So even the ultimate goal is contested territory.
Seems so. And this whole cosmic struggle, it's not just abstract. It has very real, observable effects on the world.
Right, you can see it play out on a large scale, maybe.
Definitely. The text says when the white faction is dominant, you see peaceful societies, morality, abundance, good weather.
People get reborn in higher realms, or as fortunate humans.
Exactly. High-minded, happy lives.
And conversely, when the black faction is dominant,
then you see the opposite. Corruption, violence, war, natural disasters, poverty, sickness.
People reborn in hells or as miserable humans.
Yes. Low status, suffering lives. It paints a pretty stark picture.
And the neutral faction dominance
just leads to, well, indifferent outcomes. Neither particularly good nor bad. Things just kind of stagnate, maybe.
It's quite a lens to view history and current events through, isn't it? Almost unsettling.
It really is. It's a very different model of how the world works.
Okay, my head is spinning a bit. This is incredible, almost unbelievable,
Oh, absolutely. And the author, Pakiṇṇaka, he acknowledges that. He explicitly says, don't believe me.
He does.
Yeah. He insists you have to believe in yourself. This knowledge isn't dogma. It has to be verified through direct experience. By, in his words, making it exist, making it become, make it seen for yourself.
Through meditation.
Exactly. Which leads us to the practical path he lays out.
Right. So how do you see all this? How do you verify it?
Through a very specific kind of vipassana, insight meditation. The instructions are incredibly precise.
Like what?
Okay, so sit with your body straight. Right foot over the left foot, right hand over the left hand.
Okay.
Then the tip of the right thumb touches the tip of the left forefinger. Eyes closed.
Standard meditation posture, mostly.
Mostly, but then the focus. You look upwards with your inner vision, then downwards into the body's central channel, like a hollow windpipe from the palate down to the navel area.
Okay, focusing inside. Where exactly?
There are two key spots mentioned. Spot 10, which is right at the navel, and then, crucially, spot 0.
Spot 0.
Yeah, it's described as the center of mindfulness, located 2 finger widths above the navel.
2 finger widths above the navel. Okay, and what do you do there?
This is the critical part. You have to bring all mental activity to a dead stop. You stop seeing, remembering, thinking, knowing.
Just stop. Everything.
Everything. Absolute stillness at that specific point.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
It's presented as the core of the practice. And at this spot 0, he says, every person has something called a sphere of Dhamma, Up, down.
A sphere of Dhamma, what's that?
It's described as being clear, like a chicken's egg yolk, and bright, like light. And it's considered the actual origin point of the human body.
The origin. Wow, so you focus on that sphere.
You fix your attention there, unwaveringly. And crucially, you ignore any external seeming lights or visions.
Why ignore them? Aren't visions sometimes part of meditation?
In this system, any light or vision that seems to come from outside that central sphere is considered a defilement of insight.
A defilement? From where?
Specifically attributed to the black faction, trying to distract you or lead you astray. It's a test of staying centered.
Okay, so focus internally on that sphere at spot 0. Then what happens?
This is where it gets really interesting. The principle of body within body comes into play.
Body within body, like nesting dolls.
Exactly like that. As you deepen the meditation, subtler and subtler bodies appear, nested one inside the other, right there at the center.
And each body reveals more.
Deeper levels of reality, different perceptions, different abilities.
Okay, walk me through them. What's the first one?
Well, you start with the one we all know, the gross human body,
Ah,
our physical body. Then, as your mind calms down, or you feel happiness, or see light within that center, the next body appears. The subtle human body.
Human body. Is this like an astral body?
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's said to look just like the physical body, but more refined. If it becomes crystal clear like a mirror, that's considered the first path of Dhamma insight. And the subtle body is the one that actually travels on to be reborn.
Okay, so that's the second body. What's next?
Next come the heavenly bodies, both a coarse and subtle version. So bodies 3 and 4.
Heavenly bodies, can they go to heaven?
They possess divine eyes, par, and yes, with these you could apparently see and even visit the heavens, the hells, the realms of hungry ghosts and asuras.
Wow. Okay, and they meditate too.
Yes, they practice specific meditations like the 10 kasiṇas, 10 asubhas, 10 anussatis, different ways to train the mind across these realms.
Okay, so 4 bodies so far. Human coarse, human subtle, heavenly coarse, heavenly subtle. What's after heavenly?
Higher still are the Brahma bodies. Attica. Again, a coarse and a subtle version, bodies 5 and 6.
Brahma bodies.
Yeah.
Like from the Brahma realms in Buddhism.
Exactly. They're described as even more beautiful, more refined than the heavenly beings.
And they have special sight too.
They have wisdom eyes, kotanar. These allow the meditator to see and visit the 16 Rupa Brahma realms, the realms of form, and they master the Rupa jhanas, deep meditative absorptions.
Getting pretty advanced here. 6 bodies. What's next?
Even higher, the formless Brahma bodies. According to my account, coarse and subtle again, bodies 7 and 8.
Formless realms, even more refined.
Exquisitely beautiful, apparently. And these come with all-seeing eyes, able to perceive and visit the 4 Arupa Brahma realms, the formless realms. These bodies are said to complete the 40 types of standard or mundane meditation practices, including the Arupa jhanas.
Okay, 8 bodies. Human, heavenly, Rupa Brahma, Arupa Brahma, each with coarse and subtle. Is that it?
That's the end of the mundane progression. But then comes the crucial transition, the 9th body.
The 9th body is?
The Dhammakaya.
Ah, Dhammakaya. I've heard that term. What's it like?
It's described as looking like a Buddha image. Crystal clear, like glass, with that distinctive lotus bud spire on top.
And its significance.
This is the game changer. The Dhammakaya,
What can they see?
they can see Nirvana directly. They can meet and actually converse with the Buddhas of all 3 factions, white, black, and neutral.
Whoa.
And coming full circle, attaining the Dhammakaya is what finally allows you to understand the original mystery, how those monks' robes should be folded. It grants that ultimate insight.
So the Dhammakaya is the key to seeing this whole hidden reality.
Precisely. And this leads to a really critical distinction the text makes.
What's that?
It's about mundane versus supramundane. Those first 8 bodies, from the gross human up to the subtle, formless Brahma, they are all considered Pakiṇṇaka, the 5 aggregates.
Right, the standard Buddhist concept, form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness.
Exactly. And in this view, these are all impermanent, subject to suffering, ultimately not self, Anatman. They belong to the mundane realm,
And their purpose in meditation.
primarily for developing calmness, Samatha. They're necessary steps, but they're still caught within the cycle of existence.
Okay, so what changes with the Dhammakaya?
The Dhammakaya and the 10 even subtler bodies that follow it, leading up to full arahatship.
10 more bodies, so 18 in total.
18 in total, yes. These 9 through 18 are fundamentally different. They are called Dhammakaya, Dhamma aggregates.
Dhamma aggregates, not Pakiṇṇaka.
Correct. And these are described as permanent, inherently happy, and truly the self plane.
Wait, self. That sounds very different from standard Theravada interpretation.
It is a very significant point of divergence. These Dhammakaya bodies belong to the supramundane realm and their purpose in meditation.
Insight, vipassana. True, liberating wisdom that leads out of the cycle. It's a shift from developing calm to developing ultimate insight.
Mundane bodies for calm, supramundane bodies for insight.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you make these bodies clear enough to progress?
There's a technique mentioned called shuffling bodies.
Yeah, it involves repeatedly entering and exiting those first 8 mundane bodies, one after the other, over and over.
Why?
To make them incredibly clear, bright, like polished glass. This purification and clarification is apparently necessary preparation for deeper meditation and for the Dhammakaya to arise clearly.
I see. And you mentioned the 40 kamathana, the meditation objects, earlier.
Right. Mastery of those happens within these first 8 bodies. The 10 kasiṇas: earth, water, fire, wind, colors, light, space.
The 10 asubhas, contemplating stages of corpse decay for impermanence.
Yes. And the 10 anussati recollections of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, virtue, etc. Plus the 4 Brahma viharas leading to the rupachanas, then the arupachanas, and 2 final ones. A whole curriculum.
But the key is, these insights must arise inside, at that center point.
Absolutely crucial. Any visions or experiences that seem external are dismissed as defilements, possibly manipulations by the black faction. Stay centered.
Okay. This whole structure of bodies and meditation is incredibly detailed.
It really is. And it forms the basis for the author's radical reinterpretation of, well, some very core Buddhist stories.
Like the Buddha's enlightenment.
Exactly. Here's where things take a sharp turn from the usual accounts.
How so?
The author states that before his full enlightenment, the Buddha himself had only reached the Arupa Brahma bodies, the 8th level.
Okay.
And from that state, he realized that even mastering all 40 kamathana wasn't enough. It wasn't the final path to ending suffering. He needed something more.
He needed the Dhammakaya.
That's the implication. But before he got there, he faced Mara.
Ah, the temptation under the Bodhi tree. How is that interpreted here?
This is maybe the most startling part. The Mara who obstructed the Buddha wasn't just, a symbol of inner demons or a minor deity.
No.
According to this account, Mara was the actual black and neutral Buddha factions.
The factions themselves.
Yeah.
As Mara.
Yes. Actively, intensely trying to stop him from reaching enlightenment. This opposition was apparently so real and powerful, it caused the Buddha to undertake those extreme austerities, fasting, holding his breath. It was a genuine cosmic battle.
He didn't realize it was them at the time.
Not fully, the text suggests. He only truly understood the nature of his opponents after he attained enlightenment and gained the Dhammakaya vision.
This explains why he critiques modern commentators, though, the ones who allegorize Mara.
Precisely. He says people explain Mara's daughters as just thoughts, or Mara himself as psychological states, because they lack this body-within-body understanding.
Without that framework.
How do you make sense of Mara riding an elephant that's 150 yojanas tall? A yojana is miles long. It dwarfs the Bodhi tree, dwarfs the Buddha's physical body.
Right, it doesn't compute on a purely physical level.
Exactly. So the author argues the Buddha wasn't seeing Mara with his physical eyes, which have limited range.
He was seeing with
The all-seeing eye. A vastly expanded perception.
seeing divine beings with divine sight.
Right. Mara's army, in this view, consisted of beings with divine bodies, but they were still inferior to the Buddha's highly refined Arupa Brahma state at that point.
And the white faction helped him.
Yes, the white faction Buddha was also present, supporting him during that confrontation. So not a metaphor, a real battle between cosmic forces on a subtle plane.
Okay, so the Buddha wins, achieves enlightenment. But the story doesn't end there.
Not according to this account. After the traditional departure of Mara, the leader of the black faction, described again, black, clear as onyx, directly confronted the newly enlightened Buddha.
A face-to-face meeting.
Apparently so. A direct confrontation between the heads of the white, or newly enlightened, and black factions.
What happened?
This led to a kind of negotiation, a truce.
A truce with the black faction.
Yeah. The Buddha first had to enter a very deep meditative state, Nirodha Samapatti, for 7 days.
Why?
To consult with older Buddhas already in Nirvana, specifically those who attained it while still alive.
Buddhas who didn't physically die to enter nirvana.
Correct. And their advice was crucial. They told him essentially, don't fight them directly. Liberate beings instead.
Why not fight?
Because, they said, his accumulated merit, his spiritual power, was still less than the Black Faction's power base at that time. Direct combat wasn't advisable.
So, liberation over confrontation. This led to the truce.
Yes, and the Black Faction laid down some pretty astonishing conditions. 4 of them.
Okay, what were they? This sounds incredible.
1. The Buddha must not interfere with their projects, their schemes that cause suffering in the world.
He had to let them cause suffering.
2. He had to prevent his own disciples from using any psychic powers or abilities to interfere with the Black Faction's work either.
Wow. Keep his own side in check. What else?
3. When teaching about the cause of suffering, he must attribute it to the karma of beings themselves, not directly blame the Black Faction.
He couldn't expose them.
Apparently not directly. And 4, he had to agree to pass into final nirvana at the age of 80.
They dictated his lifespan. Those are heavy conditions.
Extremely heavy. The Buddha agreed to them all, apparently, imposing only one condition himself.
Which was?
That his teaching, the Dhamma, would survive and endure for as long as the paths and fruits, Magga and Phala, the stages of enlightenment, still existed for beings to attain.
A guarantee for the Dhamma's longevity.
Yes, but the Black Faction, the text says, was cunning.
How so?
After this truce, they subtly influenced the Buddha's own disciples, causing them to commit various transgressions.
Why would they do that?
To force the Buddha's hand. Each time a transgression happened, the Buddha, bound by his role, had to lay down a new monastic rule, a precept.
Leading to the full 227 precepts in the Vinaya.
Exactly. And the author makes a controversial point here. He suggests that the more rules there are, the fewer people actually attain enlightenment. It becomes harder.
And the Black Faction benefited from this.
He claims they did. They even apparently boasted that those monks or nuns who broke the rules were now their disciples, falling under their sway.
This paints the Buddha in a really difficult position.
Terribly difficult. Pitiable, the author calls it. Bound by his vow of truth, he couldn't openly denounce the Black Faction's interference.
Because his fist was smaller, his merit.
Yeah, his accumulated merit over 4 asankeyas and 100,000 mahakappas was vast, but the Black Faction's was counted in hundreds or thousands of sankeyas. He was powerful, but they were, in this cosmic sense, more powerful in terms of sheer accumulated force.
So he endured this situation.
To keep the path of liberation open for others. A sacrifice, essentially.
Which brings us to the end of his life. That condition about dying at 80.
Right. According to this source, there was a final missed opportunity.
What was that?
At 80, the Buddha repeatedly hinted to his attendant, Ananda. 16 times, apparently, with 3 chances each time.
Hinted about what?
That a fully enlightened Buddha could, if requested, extend his lifespan considerably, even live for the entire eon.
He wanted Ananda to ask him to live longer.
Yes. His intention, the text claims, was to enter nirvana while still alive, like those older Buddhas he consulted.
To achieve that final state without physical death.
Exactly. Which involved connecting all his innumerable inner bodies, from the coarsest to the finest, into one single, clear, indestructible Dhammakaya form.
But Ananda didn't ask.
He missed the cues. And the author attributes this directly to the subtle influence of the Black Faction, clouding Ananda's mind at those critical moments.
So they prevented him from achieving living nirvana.
That's the assertion, forcing him to pass away conventionally, fulfilling their 4th condition, a final, tragic manipulation.
This whole narrative is just staggering. It reframes everything.
It absolutely does. And it leads directly into how this tradition understands nirvana itself.
Right. We heard about the Dhammakaya being able to see nirvana. What is it, according to this view?
Well, first, remember the distinction. The first 8 mundane bodies get you mundane jhanas, calmness.
Right.
Only the Dhammakaya, the 9th body, and the ones beyond it, can achieve supramundane jhanas and samapassis. That's the prerequisite for nirvana.
Okay. So how does a Dhammakaya practitioner reach it?
Through a process the author calls Gangrat, which translates roughly as falling into void or dissolving into emptiness.
Falling into void, what does that mean in practice?
It's a deep meditative refinement. The current Dhammakaya body becomes perfectly clear, then it sort of dissolves or collapses back into that bright, clear sphere at spot 0.
It disappears.
Momentarily, only to immediately reemerge as a new Dhammakaya, even clearer, brighter, and more refined than the last one.
Like shedding a skin and emerging anew?
Kind of, yeah. An iterative process of purification and refinement. And each time this falling into void happens, you progress through the stages of enlightenment.
From stream enterer to once returner.
To non-returner and finally arahat. Each stage marked by a clearer Dhammakaya and a deeper, more direct understanding of the Four Noble Truths.
So enlightenment is achieved through these successive refinements of the Dhammakaya.
That's the model presented here. And it relates to the idea of shedding bodies as you move through realms, too.
How so?
Like, when someone dies and is reborn in a heavenly realm, their gross human body is left behind. Their consciousness arises in the subtle human body, which then gives rise to the heavenly body.
The previous body ceases.
Yes, the heart, mind, and consciousness associated with that coarser body cease when the consciousness takes hold in the finer one. It's continual transcendence.
Okay, so what about nirvana itself? Is it just emptiness, or is it a place? Does it have substance?
It's described quite differently here. It does have substance. It even has its own unique version of the five aggregates.
Nirvana has aggregates. But aren't aggregates impermanent and suffering?
Not these aggregates. They're given different names to show their different nature. The world of form-mind aggregates is called the Dhamma aggregate. The beings residing there, the enlightened ones, are referred to collectively as the Noble Truths.
As beings. Interesting.
And the environment itself, like the air element, is called the Dhamma element. Thongkhun described as extremely subtle and cool. It's a different kind of reality structure.
So definitely not just void or cessation?
Not at all. And there are two interconnected types of nirvana described.
Two types.
Yes. First, there's living nirvana. This is the nirvana that can be accessed within the human body center through the Dhammakaya meditation.
Accessible while alive.
Yes. And then there's ayatana nirvana,
Wow.
Plinsic Pushkan. This is described as the actual realm, the ultimate abode of all enlightened beings.
Where is it located?
Geographically, so to speak, it's said to reside far above the three planes of existence, the sensory, form, and formless realms. 3 times their total height, way up there.
A distinct location. How did the two connect?
They share a center point. Attaining living nirvana within your own center automatically connects you, draws you into ayatana nirvana. It's like opening a portal.
That's remarkably specific.
It is. And this specificity is exactly where the author expresses frustration with the mainstream Pali scriptures.
Frustration. Why?
He feels the Pali canon is too hidden or ambiguous about nirvana's true nature. He says it feels like they're intentionally closing and concealing the details.
What kind of details?
He quotes some standard passages that describe nirvana mostly by what it is not unconditioned, unborn, deathless, or using abstract terms like peace or refuge.
Which are common descriptions.
Right, but he argues they never clearly state its location or describe its tangible qualities. He finds this omission suspicious, even worrying.
He wants a clearer picture.
Because he contrasts this ambiguity with the direct experience of Dhammakaya practitioners.
What do they see?
They apparently see ayatana nirvana as a real place.
Yeah.
Immensely vast, beautiful, wondrous, filled with jeweled treasures beyond description.
Jeweled.
Yes, even the Buddha's body residing there is seen as radiant, clear, like diamond or glass. He even claims that the precious gems we value here, diamonds, rubies, etc., actually originate from the substance of nirvana filtering down.
Wow. That's very different.
It is. And he asks, quite pointedly, why aren't these kinds of tangible, inspiring details found in the common texts? Why the obscurity?
And his answer goes back to?
The black faction.
Yeah.
He firmly believes that over the 2 millennia since the Buddha, his original words, especially the clear teachings about nirvana, have been deliberately distorted, obscured, or lost.
Why would the black faction want to hide nirvana?
Because their power lies in keeping beings cycling through the 3 planes of existence, birth, death, rebirth. As long as beings are trapped in that cycle, the black faction can play and enjoy them, feed off their suffering.
But if beings reach nirvana,
they're free. They escape the cycle entirely. They are completely beyond the black faction's reach outside their dominion. So obscuring the path and the destination keeps beings trapped in their playground.
that's a chilling thought, a deliberate cosmic deception.
It's central to this entire worldview, this ongoing hidden war over the fate of all beings.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it really leaves us with this stark contrast, doesn't it?
Absolutely. On one side, you have the image of the white faction Buddhas, embodying infinite compassion, constantly working, sending aid, nourishing beings with a love said to surpass even that of parents for their children.
Always trying to help, to uplift.
Yes. And on the other side, the black faction Buddhists, portrayed as these ruthless lords of death, actively inflicting suffering, and crucially, meticulously hiding their true nature in actions.
Like criminals covering their tracks.
Exactly, making it incredibly hard for beings to even know who their real adversary is, let alone resist them, unless they develop this kind of deep inner Dhammakaya sight.
We've certainly covered some extraordinary ground today. A really profound and definitely radical interpretation of Buddhism.
Of cosmology, reality, the Buddha's life, Mara, Nirvana, it touches everything. All seen through the lens of this specific meditative path and the experiences it supposedly unlocks.
Uncovering this hidden struggle, these layered bodies of consciousness. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And remember, the author's key message throughout, this isn't about just accepting it blindly.
Right. Don't believe me, believe in yourself.
It's presented as an invitation to explore, to practice, to potentially make it exist, make it seen for yourself.
So the final thought for you, the listener, is perhaps, what does this radically different picture mean? If the deepest truths aren't just in books or doctrines, but potentially accessible through a profound inner journey.
And what if the reality we experience is fundamentally shaped by these unseen forces, this cosmic contention for our very minds and actions?
What might you discover if you were to embark on your own deep dive into the nature of your own consciousness, your own existence, something to contemplate?